Okay, in the last video, we saw the unique role that the church has in being a corporate Moses and being a warring bride against the kingdoms of the earth. We're going to partner with the Lord in what he is doing in the land. And we learned that a book like Revelation is actually partly a sort of prayer guide. We have the story written in advance so that we can, with full confidence, pray into what the Lord is doing in the land. And in advance of those plagues, we can be praying for the Lord to unleash them with the confidence that the Lord's desire is to release whatever plague is next sort of on the list. And I think there's an important thing to add here, and that is part of our see that, so that we are not deceived, and so that we're not offended, and so we're not afraid. When we look at these events, remember the book of Revelation is not the revelation of how the story comes to the end. It's not a revelation of events that will take place. It is the revelation of a person. It says it's the book of the revelation of Jesus Christ. And there's a tendency as we study end times to get so focused on events and timelines and things like that, that we lose the forest for the trees, so to speak. And the way that we typically do that, in fact, in my devotion time this morning, I was reading in the Gospel of John about Lazarus dying. And as Jesus is approaching where Lazarus is, Martha, Lazarus' sister, comes out to meet him. And Jesus tells her he will rise again. And she says, I know on the last day when everyone's resurrected, he will rise again. And she's absolutely right. She knew her timeline. She knew events that would happen and purposes. But she lost sight of who she was standing in front of, Jesus. And Jesus says, I am the resurrection and the life. You see, we can get so focused on this happens on this day that we forget that really it's not a revelation of events, it's a revelation of the man Jesus Christ. And so these events, some of them are the revelation of his mercy and his grace and his love. They're the revelation of him as the judge. They're even the revelation of his wrath. And while we might now want to say, some of those parts of Jesus make me feel uncomfortable, I'm going to tuck that part away and just focus on these parts I like a whole bunch. We will not be able to do that in the end times because these events reveal the full glory of who Jesus is. And so we need to now be seeing to it that we are not offended by any part of who Jesus is. And the more that you study even parts that you're not really comfortable with at first, the more you will, by the Spirit, become to embrace them and really glory in every part of who Jesus is. And that's important that we do that as a church, that we are able to effectively give voice to all the full counsel of the Lord and who he is in his complete sense. And one of the ways that we're going to do that is when we interact with the lost, the people that are currently part of these bad kingdoms, but we want them to switch sides and become a part of the kingdom of Jesus before the king arrives. And the way we do that, last time we talked about being a corporate Moses. Well, with this group of people, we're really going to be a corporate John the Baptist. John the Baptist had a unique role in the first coming of Jesus. He was the one who declared to people, repent, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And it said he paved the way. He made the crooked path straight, so that when Jesus showed up on the scene, it wasn't quite as steep a step to understanding him, because John the Baptist was the one who came ahead of time, preparing people's hearts and minds for the revelation of Jesus. And so the same thing is going to happen in Jesus' second coming. But instead of one man doing the paving the way, it's going to be the corporate John the Baptist. And so we as a church need to know when he is coming. We need to, again, we won't know the exact hour of it, but we need to know the season in which he is coming, so that when these tribulations are happening, we can give voice to them and call people to repent. Now is the time to repent from being a part of the opposing kingdom and to join up with the coming kingdom. And so that corporate John the Baptist mentality is another of the roles that the church will play. And if we are doing that, we will do what is talked about in the book of Daniel. When Daniel talks about a group of people that are called the masculine. And those are the people with understanding. And it says in Daniel 11, let's read that verse, it's starting in verse 32. But the people who know their God shall stand firm, take action, and the wise among the people shall make many understand. You see, again, we see that this is a group of people who are not shaken. In a time when the ends of the earth are being shaken, they are standing firm, it says. And they aren't passive watchers, another phrase we've used a few times in these videos. They are people who take action. And in this action, because they have wisdom, many will come to understand because of them. And in the very next chapter, in chapter 12 of Daniel, in verse 3, it says, "And those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the sky above, and those who turn many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever." And so this is a period of shining for the church. Like I talked again in last video a little bit. It's going to be our most glorious hour. And you can't shine like a star if you're hunkered down in a bunker somewhere just hoping to survive. Survival is not our end point. Survival is not the goal for us. Shining brightly is the goal for the church. And so we can't shrink back in fear. We need to stand firm, take action, and the result will be that we shine in such a way in this dark time that it will bring many people to understanding. What a glorious opportunity for the church. Think of the reward in heaven that awaits the church in this age because of the people that are going to be coming into the kingdom. The way that they get to partner with King Jesus is just astounding. And so when we remember those truths and we hold on to them, it is really what starts out as a fearful time becomes an exciting time. And so next we're going to start to look in more detail about the Jewish people. Again, we really need to understand how we relate to them as the church and the unique role that we play in establishing them and their purposes that the Lord has for the Jewish people.